CBN NewsWatch.
It is Monday, May 24, 2021. I'm Ephraim Graham. Ahead here on CBN NewsWatch, there's an uptick in attacks against Jews since the fighting between Israel and Hamas. We're going to bring you the latest and the politics of the pandemic with protests on college campuses.
Right now, they're putting our education on pause, forcing us to take the vaccine to go back to school, to take in-person classes.
Plus, it's become the main route for drug and human trafficking.
Someone's going to get hurt. There's a great sense of unease.
See why a highway in Texas is called the Corridor of Death. All this and more next. We begin with this. Jews attacked on the streets of America. The nation is seeing a spike in anti-Semitism during the fighting between Israel and Hamas. So how are some of our political leaders contributing to the atmosphere? And what can Christians do about it? Aldale Hurd is taking a look at those questions.
Phone video of attacks against Jews in cities across the U.S. shared on social media show how Palestinian supporters are bringing the war against Israel and against Jews to America's streets. Jews around the world know that when Israel is attacked and fights back, they become even bigger targets for violence. A Jewish man was savagely beaten in New York's Diamond District, another in Times Square. Police are looking for these suspects. In Los Angeles, a man is being held on suspicion of assault with a deadly weapon after an anti-Semitic attack on Jewish diners. 10 cars full of Palestinian supporters rolled up and tried to attack them as they ate outside in Beverly Hills. Police are investigating the incident as a hate crime. In Canada, a Jew attacked in broad daylight. And in Florida, this pro-Palestinian caravan says Hitler was right. Rabbi Abraham Cooper of the Simon Wiesenthal Center.
The language of the caravans that are going through Jewish areas with anti-Semitic slogans being spat, and we're going to rape your wives and children and things like that. There's a sense that it's open season and fair game against Jews.
The Anti-Defamation League has documented anti-Semitism on multiple social media platforms, including 17,000 tweets which used variations of the phrase Hitler was right, and 193 anti-Semitic incidents in the week after the fighting in the Middle East began. Rabbi Cooper says statements by Palestinian supporters in the Democrat Party embolden anti-Semites.
When the squad members, openly lie about Israel, use anti-Semitic tropes, knowing they can say whatever they want as elected members of Congress, and that the leadership of Congress, meaning the Speaker of the House and the Majority Leader of the Senate, won't take them down on that kind of rhetoric, the signals abound that you can get away with it.
And Rabbi Cooper says it's imperative that Christians stand by Jews and speak out strongly against the attacks, and that the White House must do more to stop it. Dale Hurd, CBN News.
5 Jewish groups, including the Anti-Defamation League, penned a letter to President Biden expressing concern about this recent surge. The letter called on the president to use his platform to condemn anti-Semitism and to take various actions to combat hatred against Jews. They say they are grateful for the current ceasefire between Israel and Hamas, but fear the way the conflict's been used will have ramifications in the future. Secretary of State Antony Blinken says Gaza is in a grave humanitarian situation following the intense fighting between Israel and Hamas. He says the ceasefire was critical.
President Biden's focus on relentless, determined, but quiet diplomacy is what got us to where we needed to be, which is to get the violence ended as quickly as possible, to stop more human suffering, and to at least put ourselves in a position to make a turn, to make a pivot, to building something more positive.
The ceasefire continues, but some believe it is only for a short amount of time. The White House presented a $1.7 trillion infrastructure bill as a counter to the initial $2.25 trillion package. The new plan reduces funding for broadband expansion It also reduces proposed investment with roads, bridges, and other major infrastructure projects from $159 billion to $120 billion. Some Republicans say negotiations should continue even after the counter proposals because of fundamental differences.
The heart of the negotiations is defining the scope of the bill. What is infrastructure? We Republicans tend to define the infrastructure in terms of roads, bridges, seaports, and airports, and broadband. The Democratic definition seems to include social programs that have never been considered part of core infrastructure.
The two sides do remain still very far apart. People participated in a political rally on the campus of Rutgers University holding up political and anti-vaccine posters. Rutgers, along with some other colleges and universities, are now requiring students be vaccinated before the start of the fall semester. While some students agree with the policy, many also disagree.
I believe that the COVID vaccination should be a personal choice between the student and their doctor, but not the university.
It shouldn't be forced, so that's why we're here. It should be an option. It should be a choice, so we should choose for ourselves. But right now they're putting our education on pause, forcing us to take the vaccine to go back to school, to take in-person classes.
Rutgers released a statement saying, in part, their commitment is to create a safe campus environment and to support the health and safety for all members of the Rutgers community. The policy holds some limited exceptions for some students who have medical or religious reasons for objecting to the vaccine. I want to turn now to India. It is the global epicenter of the coronavirus, the country reporting nearly 330,000 new infections today and an estimated 50,000 deaths in the last few weeks. All this made worse by a nationwide oxygen shortage. At one area hospital, CBN's Operation Blessing is stepping up to help meet the need.
With coronavirus infections in the U.S. dropping to their lowest levels in 7 months, India now under pressure to go into total lockdown as the nation grapples with the world's worst virus outbreak. The record daily infections soaring as demand for medical oxygen jumped 7-fold.
Because of the demand for oxygen, there is no doubt the black marketing, and the prices have gone up like 300 to 400 times each. But the people are desperate to get oxygen.
Operation Blessings Victor Emmanuel is part of the team delivering 150 critical cylinders of medical oxygen to the Philadelphia Ambala Mission Hospital.
Now by Operation Blessing providing the oxygen to the hospital, we can treat close to 950 people over a span of 2 weeks. So that's a great blessing to the patients that are coming to the hospital.
The hospital, founded by an American missionary in 1887, is a designated COVID center treating hundreds of patients. The hospital's director telling CBN News that the nationwide lack of oxygen only compounds the crisis.
When the patients come with a low oxygen saturation, it is really a problem. Like we have to refuse the patients to get into the hospital.
Dr. Sadiq says the virus is devastating many Indian lives, including many Christians. More than 230,000 have died here from COVID so far, and experts warn deaths may double in coming weeks. Dr. Sadiq says the hospital is more than just a place to treat patients.
When the patient comes, every day we are praying 3 or 4 times for the patients, and when they come, they feel that there is a divine power working in the hospital.
India's health experts welcoming President Biden's move to waive COVID vaccine patents, allowing countries like India to boost their supply. Emmanuel urging people around the world to remember India during this time.
There is a lot of suffering all around, and I urge you to please pray for the nation of India, for healing, for God's comfort and peace.
George Thomas, CBN News.
Church services can legally resume in the state of California Friday. The Supreme Court ruled the state could no longer continue the COVID-19 restrictions that ban churches from holding worship inside. But for now, the court said the state can keep the restrictions on singing and chanting. The governor has also been ordered to pay Liberty Counsel more than $1 million to reimburse attorneys' fees and costs. Coming up, stunning video captured armed smugglers caught in the known as the Corridor of Death. Find out what's happening there next.
having sex before you marry is a bad idea.
Don't tell me there's no such thing as gun violence.
That just depends on your definition of when life begins.
Watch Dan and Dale tackle trending topics that test your faith on the next Faith Wire. Monday night at 8:30 on the CBN News Channel. The Global Lane takes you around the world, providing facts over fiction.
What might rising trade and geopolitical tensions mean for you on the home front?
With over 45 years of experience, award-winning journalist Gary Lane brings you the truth from a global angle.
What about the issue of immigration?
World news analysis you won't see anywhere else.
And it's all right here on the Global Lane.
Thursday night at 8:30 on the CBN News Channel.
We take you now to Brooks, Texas, where Highway 28 is known as the Corridor of Death. It is the main route for human smuggling and drug smuggling. CBN News obtained disturbing video from the area taken by some of the smugglers. Here's Tara Mershiner.
Armed with an assault rifle and 100 rounds of ammo, this smuggler races to make the handoff. Suddenly, several men jump from the back, making a break for the next car, hoping to outrun the law. CBN News obtained this shocking video, recorded by the smugglers themselves. And this isn't some scene playing out in a third world country. It's on the back roads of a small South Texas town.
Someone's going to get hurt. There's a great sense of unease now that they know that they are carrying weapons, and it has been documented now. Intel hasn't wanted to share it, but it's gotten so brazen now that they want the public to know.
This is Brooks County, some 70 miles north of the Mexico border. And it's clear evidence that ground zero of the immigration crisis is much larger than the border itself.
U.S. Highway 281, it heads north, is the main corridor for human smuggling or drug smuggling.
It's known as the Corridor of Death. And we see why within minutes of our arrival in Falfurrias.
We are going to the very south end of the county, on 281.
Deputy Don White responding after another body turns up deep in South Texas brush country. One of dozens found in the past few months.
We can see the prints.
The footprints pointing in the direction of remains, decomposing under the hot Texas sun, not far from the beaten path. His body moved by animals from its original resting place, belongings scattered about the shrubs. Deputy White says it looks like he died a month ago, likely left behind by his group.
F-13, time of death, 3 o'clock even.
Either he was dropped and they went on, or he became incoherent from environmental stresses and he started wandering.
An hour south, hundreds of thousands of women and children continue to surrender to agents after being dropped off at the river's edge by so-called coyotes hired to smuggle them into the U.S. For those trying to avoid agents, however,
due to past criminal history or past border interceptions, that sort of thing,
the second hurdle may be even harder. getting around the Border Patrol checkpoint in Brooks County along a major human smuggling route. On the journey, moved from stash house to stash house in the Rio Grande Valley until the cartel gives the all clear.
They're loaded up into pickups, vans, whatever, and brought to the south side of the county and dumped down into the brush. And then they're expected to walk up to 3 days through the brush.
The miles-long trek to meet the next smuggler waiting to usher them deeper into the U.S. is punishing. This is sandy loam, similar to what's on a beach. It's very heavy to walk on, and migrants on it hour after hour become exhausted. Scorching summers, freezing winter nights, and brutal winds, all taking their toll. Bodies and skeletal remains often revealing signs of painful, even violent deaths.
You know, the cartel has also been known to kill people that didn't pay up.
With the human flood crashing the southern border this year, drug cartels are raking in billions from migrants desperate to reach the U.S. Some with bad intent.
So many people are coming across, that gives the cartel even more opportunities to transfer people like MS-13, the 18th Street, pedophiles. Pedophiles love to come back to America.
Law enforcement scrambles to stay vigilant along highways. Resources in these parts are spread thin. Many border agents once patrolling this county gone, assisting with the massive influx on the border, leaving the cartel to take full advantage.
It'll be a while before someone can go out there and respond to the notice that someone is going through the brush. That brush is wide open. 944 square miles of nothing but private ranch land.
In the last few months, it's really picked up, and there are profound property damage with smugglers that are being pursued by law enforcement. And it's not only that, it's armed smugglers going through private property, rural roads, at high speeds to drop off their load.
Loads that law enforcement officers say defy dangerous odds in the wilderness and are fanning out in greater numbers across America. In Brooks County, Tara Bergener, CBN News.
Still ahead, tech giants collecting data on you and your children. We're showing you what they're doing with that intel when we come back. Stay with us.
I am Region's first ROTC graduate student.
I'm Ephraim Graham, and this is Studio 5. Cruise with me as I discover the good things happening in the world of music, sports, television, and movies.
The fact that Ryan Coogler was going to be directing the film, I knew that something special was going to happen.
We'll chat with artists at the forefront of entertainment and explore the connection between popular culture and faith.
I asked my pastor, I said, well, does that mean I'm supposed to be a preacher? He says, well, no, you already have a pulpit.
Wednesday night at 8:30 on the CBN News Channel.
How'd you like to get a redo on your health, on your body, on your arteries, so you could have the energy you had 20 years ago? The great news is you can. I'm Dr. Mike Roizen, chair of the Wellness Institute at the Cleveland Clinic. I've written 4 New York Times bestsellers. But even better than having to read all that, you can listen to this DVD and watch it. Protect your heart? Yes, you can. Here's how.
Go to CBN.com or call 1-800-700-7000 for your free copy of Protect Your Heart. Let the medical experts show you their new discoveries on how to avoid heart disease and even reverse it. Easy steps to uncover the hidden dangers in your medicine cabinet, reduce stress, and get a complete do-over for your health. Call 1-800-700-7000. That's 1-800-700-7000. Or go to CBN.com to claim your free copy of Protect Your Heart.
The book Corporate Monopolies Don't Want You to Read. That's how Republican Senator Josh Hawley describes the tyranny of big tech. And no wonder. In this new book, the senator reveals alarming facts about how the giants of big tech are tracking children online, swaying voters, censoring pro-life groups, silencing speech, and more. So what can be done to stop them? Here's Capitol Hill correspondent Abigail Robertson.
Senator Josh Hawley hopes his book brings renewed attention to the negative impacts of big tech, from monitoring young children to influencing elections worldwide.
This really started for me as a parent.
That's when Hawley realized these companies were tracking his kids and millions more.
These companies were following around the kids online and building profiles of them. And so that really led to me to getting interested in this.
As Missouri Attorney General at the time, Hawley led the charge by filing antitrust investigations against both Facebook and Google, which he says has expanded to include similar suits in all 50 states.
I think at the end of the day, monopoly power is always bad for liberty. Monopoly power is bad for free speech. And these companies have unprecedented power over speech, over our lives. And we've got to reclaim that power for us as individuals and as families.
Now a U.S. Senator, Hawley is fighting big tech on a federal level.
I think from a political point of view, we have to break these companies up.
Laying out the case in his new book, Hawley exposes his alarming discoveries.
I think they absolutely are swaying votes.
And points to why he believes big tech companies influence millions of voters, citing Hill testimony from people such as Dr. Robert Epstein.
In 2016, Google's search algorithm likely impacted undecided voters in a way that shifted at least 2.6 million votes to Hillary Clinton, whom I supported.
Epstein warned Congress that companies like Google have likely been determining the outcome of 25% of national elections worldwide since at least 2015.
Dr. Epstein, he walked through experiments that he did, analysis that he did, where he took the autocomplete suggestions on Google and just showed that in the 2016 presidential election, for instance, that if you typed in Hillary Clinton's name, the autocomplete suggestions were overwhelmingly positive. If you typed in Donald Trump's name, they were overwhelmingly negative.
Hawley also writes about a 2019 meeting with Mark Zuckerberg, where the Facebook founder and CEO apologized for censoring the pro-life group Live Action.
Currently, if that happens to you, if that happens to a Christian pro-life group, you can't do anything about it. I mean, you can ask Facebook to change their mind. You can beg them, but you don't have any rights you can enforce against them.
And from his standpoint, the tech giant has yet to make any significant change in providing accountability.
I think we ought to allow people to go to court, have their day in court. And if the companies can really defend it, if they have a good explanation, if they've followed their own terms and procedures, then they'll be fine. But if they really have singled out conservatives or people of faith, then there's going to be a problem.
Hawley believes power is in the wrong hands when companies like Facebook and Twitter police free speech in America, such as censoring people like former President Donald Trump.
The only reason people care is because Facebook is so powerful. Listen, if Facebook had a lot of competitors, then President Trump could just go to a competitor platform and say, all right, fine, forget you, Facebook. I'll go over here to this platform. The whole point is Facebook doesn't have any real competitors in this social media space. So what they do really matters because they're the only game in town for all intents and purposes.
On the Hill, is there bipartisan support for taking action to break up these tech companies?
I think there could be. I think there should be. I think that breaking them up is where we ought to come together.
Until then, he encourages individuals and families to commit to cutting back on social media while taking a closer look at protecting their privacy.
Try to take all the steps that you can to limit the amount of information that you're voluntarily giving over to these companies. And that means spending less time online. It also means being sure to use browsers, for instance, that will help keep your data as private as possible.
Hawley believes real change is up to the voters and can only happen when they decide to stop allowing big tech to raise their kids and run their government. Reporting from Virginia, Abigail Robertson, CBN News.
Coming up, the second annual National Backyard Concert and Camp Out. We'll take a look at its success and hear from For King and Country. We'll be right back.
Daddy?
Yeah, buddy.
How many nickels are in a dollar?
There are 20 nickels in a dollar.
How do birds fly? Does milk really make my bones stronger?
Yeah.
Daddy, when we die, will we go to heaven?
Do you have the answer to life's biggest question? Call the 700 Club. We'll help you find answers to the important questions life brings your way.
Watch breaking news, in-depth exclusive stories and programs from health to entertainment you won't find anywhere else. The CBN News Channel, a perspective you can trust. Enjoy credible news reporting from around the world. Discover inspiring programs and stories of hope, all in one place from a Christian perspective. The CBN News Channel, a perspective you can trust. To watch the CBN News Channel, download the app or visit cbnnewschannel.com.
Hello, I'm Dr. David Perlmutter, board-certified neurologist and #1 New York Times bestselling author. Wouldn't it be great to boost your energy, eliminate brain fog, and even reverse brain disease? Well, you can, and I'm going to show you how, along with some of the world's most well-respected brain experts in this DVD, Protect Your Brain.
Get Protect Your Brain, a free DVD only from the Christian Broadcasting Network, featuring experts on the cutting edge of neuroscience and brain health.
No matter how many times you've failed in the past, you really can do this.
In Protect Your Brain, you'll discover simple strategies to keep your brain young and healthy. Improve your memory. Discover the gut-brain connection. In Protect Your Brain, get your free copy at cbn.com or call 1-800-700-7000.
If you want to improve the quality of your life, get the DVD Protect Your Brain and get it today.
Trail Life USA held its second annual National Backyard Concert and Camp Out this weekend, and musical guests for King and Country had a word from Joel Smallbone before the music.
This state that we're in, even in great loss, even in great loneliness, even in great illness, that there lies a choice really before all of us, and that is, do we drive deeper into fear and sadness and heaviness, or do we, even sometimes when maybe it doesn't make sense, do we have this great hope, this great trust that there is something deeper at work in us and amongst us?
If you missed the concert, you can see it right now at cbnnews.com. Time now for your Monday motivation. Today, I want to leave you with this thought. It's a great day to do something different. It can help you to change your course and get you even more in line with the path that God has designed for you. With that word, I encourage you to make this a marvelous Monday and be sure to have yourself a wonderful rest of the week. That is going to do it for this edition of CBN News Watch. Thank you so much for watching. Remember, you can always find more of our news programs on the CBN News Channel and stories at any time at cbnnews.com. We'll see you tomorrow.